I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And even though we have our new recording, it might be good to just do a quick, maybe the first time you speak tonight, just identifying yourself, just since we're in the habit of it, just to keep going with that for now. So we are set for some public comment. If anyone would like to come forward.
Richard Polinsky, 89 Hall Road. I got a couple of things. As you know, a meeting or two ago, I brought up about the line item on the book budget. That it has been over 75% for 3 years in a row, and we're at basically 100% this year, with 6 months to go. What's disturbing is at a council meeting or a budget meeting, I forget which one, there were excuses being made as to why. And one of the excuses was the budget committee won't let us up the line item. Budget committee has no say on that. They're an advisory only board, so that's not an excuse. The other thing was said is we get our money twice a year, which is true. You get half and half. Doesn't matter. If at the end of the year, when you're over by 75%, you're over by 75%. It is what it is. I also mentioned at the meeting, it would be nice to know where you transferred the money from, what other line items. Because if you're transferring $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year for the books, that means those other line items are probably over. You have too much in them. Haven't seen any answers on that. So that's number one. Number two is you had a non-public meeting on, I think it was 11/6. And I don't see on the website the minutes for that meeting. Now, I understand you sealed them. You only seal them for 72 hours, and you can only seal them under certain circumstances. And I have it right here, I can read it, but it's basically to protect the reputation of somebody, to protect if there is a contract being written, whatever. You guys waived all that when you spoke about it the following meeting. You spoke about why you went into non-public. So even if you had sealed them legally, that eliminates that. So where are the minutes of that meeting? I would like to see them. I don't even know if they were done on time. All right? I've been trying to bring this up to this board since I started coming here in October, that you have to meet 91A. You just can't seal minutes because you want to seal them. You have to meet the criteria in the law. It's that simple. I told you you hadn't met it, and then you waived it anyway when you spoke about what happened in the meeting. So why aren't they out? Why are they still not out? You don't have a choice in this. You know, I keep coming here telling you I'm going to send it to the state. I don't really want to do that and cost this town money. But you kind of leave me no alternative but to do that. Why is it so hard? It's not. Has anybody bothered to read the 91A to know what you're required to do? I guess no.
No, I've read it.
Okay.
I've also taken a day-long conference on it as well.
Okay, thank you. So you're only one member, and you all have, you have to agree. So here it is. So I want to know, when are we going to get the minutes? They should have been available a long time ago.
All right, we'll get them up.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I have a question for Mr. Belinsky?
Yes.
Could you give me the date of the private session so
I
that
believe it was 11/6.
It was 11:06.
Thank you, okay.
And what else?
Good evening. My name is Garrett 80, 8 High Park Circle. First, I want to thank all of you for your service to the town. All of you stepped up and stepped forward to serve the citizens. Thank you. Mr. Walensky mentioned minutes. That was what I was hoping to ask about this evening. What I'm seeing in the minutes is they're not really minutes. They're transcripts of the meetings. For example, the October minutes were 36 pages long. And I don't really understand that. So my question is, has somebody advised this board that's what you need to do. Because as somebody who's taken minutes both in the private sector and continue to do so in the nonprofit area, again, they're more of a transcript of the meeting than minutes. And by way of comparison, I did do some research. It's a little bit hard to find. Try to see what neighboring towns do. I was able to see Litchfield and Wyndham. They were much more similar to what I know of as being minutes, 2 pages, 3 pages, very high-level summaries. There might be some attachments, reports submitted by library staff and so forth, but very high-level summaries of the meetings. So again, my question is, has somebody advised this board that you really need effectively a transcript as opposed to just minutes of the meeting?
I'd like to, Liz Thomas, trustee, I'd like to address that. What we have done is we've piggybacked onto the town's transcriber, okay, who keeps the minutes for the other clubs, groups. And so she's been following the guidelines she's using for the other town committees. So it might be possible that we're all doing it wrong, but to our knowledge, it's consistent with the rest of the way that the town is doing it.
Okay. Is there a risk here that you feel you're trying to manage? That you feel is being mitigated through such extensive detailed minutes?
Well, yeah, but can we respond to the detailed minutes? Do you want to?
Do you mind if I respond? Dawn Plant Assistant Director. So I was previously taking the minutes, and the minutes, well, I was taking them before they got so detailed, but the reason why they turned into a transcription, pretty much, is that there were a lot of comments from the board about specific things missing or that I was leaving things out. So after that, I turned them into a true and accurate description of what happened.
I don't get it. I'm sorry, please.
No, I just wanted to clarify. So, after that, Donna was taking the minutes for quite some time. At that point, we brought to the board that really the board should be taking the minutes. There should be a secretary on the board. The board chose to hire the secretary or the transcriber from the town that other boards and committees use. So the October ones are more detailed, and as you look after that date, I believe starting in November, that's when the person that they hired started taking them, and they're not as detailed.
Okay.
So if you look after that, they are more of a summary in the sense.
Okay.
I think we were hoping too that now that we finally have video up and running, that our minutes could look different, because we'll have that.
Okay. Okay. So I guess it sounds like there's been a change that I was aware of. If so, that's a good direction. Because again, based on my experience, it's not clear to me that the board or the town are necessarily well served by doing what's effectively a moment by moment, comment by comment transcription.
Well, and it took up a lot of Donna's time to do that.
I'm sure it certainly did.
So we did encourage the board to find an alternative route, and that's what they did.
Great. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the question.
Christine Perez, 5 Leslie Drive. Couple of things. First of all, I'm on the Judiciary Committee, and we just passed or sending an ought to pass to the House regarding, and this is a heads up for you, and it is regarding parents and children. I believe it's age 5 or 6 that children are encouraged to get their own library cards. Is that correct?
Here for our policy,
Yeah.
they can get them at any age.
Okay, so at 2 they could get them?
The parents want to get them, sure.
Okay, well, this policy will say that parents have a right to know their children's, under the age of 18, their current library books. And as I say, it passed judiciary, is ought to pass, and will be going to the House, so that's a heads up.
Can I just ask a question about
Sure.
that? To my understanding, it's what they have currently checked out on their card, not a history. Is that correct?
It will be purposely said not a history, because there are a lot of towns that can't get that history.
Right. I just wanted to clarify.
They have cards that get tossed, I guess, or ripped up or whatever.
Okay.
But it will be current, and it will be anyone under the age of 18. So that's kind of a heads up. The second thing I wanted to bring up, I happen to have been at a town council meeting when you all were discussing your budget, and some of the things that were brought up by one of the selectmen concerned me greatly. When it was brought up about the top 14 biggest budgets in the state, and Leach being one of the top 14, it concerned me that some of the things that were brought out. Number one, that you're the absolute worst in programming, last in adult programming attendance, only library with all master's degrees, lowest website visits, highest percentage of money spent on salary and benefits. That's the highest in the state.
Do you know where he got that information from?
Yeah, I got
Can
it
you
right from
source
the
that?
state.
The,
Got it right from the state.
the library?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is there a way you can send us the source of that? I just want to take a look at it
Which
myself.
selectman said that?
Sean Faber. Significantly highest, actual double in program expenditures. So you're paying twice as much as any other library expenditures. Fourth lowest in users population, second lowest in ebook circulation, second lowest in audiobook circulation, third lowest in total programs, and second lowest in young adult program. And I just want to see what you all as a board are going to do to try to rectify that, because that just, for the amount of money, and I know it's been an issue in the town, the money, those are just not good, not a good show for the town for all the money that is being spent on it. So I wanted to bring it to the board members who
Yeah, I think,
that were not aware of that, so that you knew, and to the public,
I
that
think
was
most
not.
of what we would say though, when we hear about here, contradicts most of what you just said, so.
Well, this is according to the state.
Well, we don't know, but we don't know the source.
Okay,
So having the source is important because, I've heard in the past that the state or somebody said this officially, and then when you track something down, it wasn't an official document, or it was a document that was being passed around that only had part of the, I don't know.
so what would be his motive?
I don't think there's a motive. I just think that sometimes things are given a bigger weight. If all those things are true, we need to look at all those. But without the actual documentation that shows the data,
Okay,
it makes it difficult to address them. That's
okay,
all.
my concern with that is that I have said things to you, Aaron, and you have said to me, oh, that's not true, only to find out that it was. For example, when I told you that the state library has separated itself from the American Library Association and did not join in 2024 and doesn't intend, you just said, well, that's not true.
Nope, I'd like to clarify what I said. I actually said I did not know that, and I said to my understanding that they were still members. I actually followed up with that to the assistant state librarian, because right now they do not have a state librarian. They're still waiting to fill that position.
Right.
And to my understanding from the assistant state librarian, they have not paid the invoice yet. There wasn't.
2024, we're talking, they were not.
That is what I was told. That is what I was told. They have not paid the invoice yet. Whether they decide to go forward, I don't know that, but that's what I was told. I don't know what their ultimate goal is, whether they're waiting to join when they hire a state librarian, or they're not going to join at all. I'm not going to make judgments
But
of
you
that.
do understand that they did not join in 2024?
If that's the case, that's their choice.
Okay.
Every library has the choice to
Okay,
whether they
so
want to join.
Thank you, I'd like to keep the meeting moving. Liz, quickly, because I'd like
Yes,
to keep
Liz
it moving.
Thomas, Chair. Chair, yeah. Liz Thomas,
Liz, if
Secretary.
you wanna be chair, you
I
can.
can't, no, I don't know, but it's okay.
It's not here.
I was just gonna volunteer, if the board's interested, I will follow up. Sean Faber was the one that originated the information for Christine. I'll follow up, and we'll follow up the source. If this is true, we need to address it immediately. But what we'll do is verification, okay? And I'll do that as soon as possible, if that's acceptable to you.
Yeah, and thank you, and I appreciate that, and I was at that meeting when he was making those points, and he did reference some websites, and as you probably know, sometimes websites aren't kept current, so that would be an important piece as well.
I'll
To
follow up on
know
that.
when that website was last updated to determine if indeed that piece of information is 100% current.
Thank
Thank you.
you for offering to do that.
Hello, Ted Collins, Town Council Vice Chairman. So I had Kate Burbidge from the Budget Committee send along to me the notes that she had taken on the library. And unfortunately, I have to refute some facts that were just presented. She had compared 9 other libraries that are similar in population: Derry, Bedford, Hudson, Salem, Rochester, Portsmouth, Keene, Dover, and Merrimack. And this is from the 2023 data posted on the New Hampshire State Government Library site. Library spends 71.99% of our annual operating budget on staff expenditures. This is the third lowest of the group of comparable towns.
Excuse me, could you just speak up just a touch?
Sure, certainly.
Thank you.
For comparison, Rochester spent the most at 81.66%, and Keene spent the least at 62.08%. So we did not spend the most compared to all the other towns.
It's not what I said.
15.57% of the operating expenditures went towards expending their collection. The highest of the 10 towns of the data, the lowest was Hudson at 0.67%. The Leach Library had an annual budget of $1.291 million for the year of 2023. The highest was Keene, having double the library budget at $2.4 million, with Hudson having the lowest at $1.1 million. For reference, she had stated, Keene has a population of 22,000, while Londonderry has a population of 26,000 people. So it's, having the right facts from the right sites and the right information really helps. And I know when Sean made his statements, they were not facts from the actual site, and unfortunately Kate was not at the same meeting to refute his facts, because she actually went through a lot of the same data, and actually what he had said was complete opposite from what she was presenting that night. So I'm sorry.
Okay. More.
I don't think you used the question.
So I just have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you our actual liaison to the town council?
Yes.
Yes, I just recently
Yes,
have found that out.
yes.
Yes. And
Okay.
I'm also not a voting member here. I just usually transfer information back and forth, and or if the library director or if the chair has a question or a comment or needs help on something, they can reach out to me. But
Okay,
I've never
that's good to know.
had it
Do you
or
have a
needed
card
any
or
help.
something for us?
I don't have any on me right now, but I'll get some from the car later.
Okay, and that's fine. It's nice to see you. So,
Yeah.
are you coming in the future?
I will be coming in the future, yes. But I went over the rules and procedures earlier just to make sure that I have no voting power here. I'm just more of a transfer of knowledge back and forth, because you guys are a whole separate entity, and so I don't really have much of a power here besides transferring information back and forth.
No, but I certainly think we don't have communication with the town as much as we should, and that would be helpful.
Certainly.
Liz, quickly.
Yes, I have a question for you,
Yes.
Ted. Is it possible if that came like from an email or something, is it possible for you to email a couple of us? I'll give you our email
I'll
addresses
send on over to Erin.
to Erin, and she can share it. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much,
Of
Ted.
course, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Doug Thomas, 143 Mammoth Road. I believe Representative Perez, in reference to a bill that was going through the judiciary, which is HB 273, I have a suggestion. If that bill does not pass, and there are a myriad of reasons why the governor may ultimately not sign it, so nothing is guaranteed. But if it doesn't pass, I would recommend that the next trustees, when they redo the policy on taking out books for the library, that they, before a parent signs permission to give their card to a minor, that there ought to be a disclaimer on the form that they have to sign that basically says that by providing a library card to your child, you essentially are giving up your right to know what your child is checking out, should that bill not pass. So I believe that at least you are giving forewarning to the parent of what they're doing when they give up a child their own card. Some parents, after seeing that, may decide maybe they don't want to do that, or maybe they want to be with the child when they check something out. But just a suggestion that might help. again, should this bill not go forward. So that's all I have.
Hi, Beth Marco, 4 Westwood Drive, candidate for trustee seat, longtime follower of these meetings in person. I think today's an example of how important it is that our community gets involved. Our library is a staple resource in our community. Our director is fabulous. Stellar applause from across the community. Her team, like, are champions of this community. These programs that are offered, they did not exist a few years ago. It is a resource that is valuable, it is free, it is accessible, it is inclusive of everyone. Ideas are housed here, but it's a space where people can come and explore ideas, challenge ideas, meet people with different ideas, collaborate. They get to make stuff, they get to dream, they get to write, they get to pick up on things that maybe they didn't have as a single parent raising kids. They get to finish that adulting here. And it starts as a child here. Your child comes here and builds relationships with these wonderful people. They take on that space as their space that houses their developmental needs. And it continues to meet their needs into our seniors' lives. This space is literally for everybody. And we are so grateful, but we must not take it for granted. Our landscape as a nation looks different than it did a week ago. It looks different than it did 12 hours ago. And we must protect this space. It belongs to the residents of Londonderry. And it is treasured, and it is for everybody, not just the people that think like Beth Morocco. So I want to protect this space for everybody. And I hope that people will take that seriously and put people on the board that will follow the rules of the trustees, the expectations, and honor what the library provides for all of us. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Yeah, good, sure, okay. Oh, Larry,
I'm sorry, real quick. Erica Lowy, 18 Lancaster Drive. If that bill does not pass, please do not put a disclaimer on applications for library cards. I would like to think that parents realize that when a child has a library card, they're going to check books out. We don't need to enable helicopter parenting. We don't need to enable intensive parental control over what children are learning how to read. That's between the parents and the children to sort out. We don't need to dictate that. Children deserve to have a little bit of privacy. If they're getting something from the library and they just want to keep it to themselves, that's fine. We need to let that happen. Please don't enable that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. I've lived here since 1980. I got some calls from previous trustees during the week, and had some nice conversation with them. And I appreciate everything you guys do, and volunteering your time for this library. I just want to talk about your budget for a minute. You have a bottom line budget. All right, and having worked for the town in the past, I know how sometimes purchasing gets done. If you have maybe this year some vendors coming up to you and saying, hey, we can give you a good deal on books for whatever, you try to take advantage of that, okay? So it doesn't really matter, I think, if you're at 75% that you spent on books at this point, as long as you don't exceed your bottom line. And I don't think the trustees of the library has ever exceeded the bottom line of their budget. So, I just want to bring that to your attention that, yeah, I know how you sometimes spend some of the funds. You might spend it earlier because you can get a deal on something. All right, perfect example is the fire department did the same thing. They came to the council and they talked about purchasing 2 fire trucks. And, they said, well, if we lock in now, we can get a better deal down the road so we don't get an increase. And that's smart, so I just want to say thank you and clarify that for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's get rolling.
Helen?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I don't know if this is the time, but I'd like to just address a short point of when we're talking about purchasing books, what the library does, okay? I think it's important for everyone to realize that. When we're looking at the book line, it says books and periodicals. It's probably a misnomer. It is not books and periodicals only. It's any kind of circulation. It's all the digital downloads. Because when you as a library patron go online and download, whether it be from our site or, download books, we get charged for that, okay? So the budget is really hard, and I'm not gonna say it's not, I feel the library has been very fiscally conscious. They're very much, meeting the bottom line, not exceeding it. 3 years ago, they actually gave back almost $200,000 to the town, and there's a reason for that. You can't say, normally you would say, well, that's pretty bad budgeting. They shouldn't have budgeted that much to begin with. That's when we came out of COVID. It took us 6 months to replace the director, so we had that had 6 months worth of salary. It took us the whole year to finish staffing up, so our salary budget was based on what we would normally, when you open the library, what you'd normally be paying, okay? At that time, we had that money. We didn't just go blow it. They gave it back to the town. Every year they give back to the town, okay? Some years it's never been like 200,000. Some years it's been like maybe 12,000, 2,000, depending whatever it is. The thing is that, you can't anticipate the growth of technology, and you can't anticipate. This library is wonderful. It's got a person on site on Thursdays that anyone can come in and learn how to download books. We'll teach them all kinds of computer skills and stuff, and that's what our population is taking advantage of that. So I personally, as a trustee, would be horrified if I said in July to our patrons, you can't download any more books the rest of the year because we've spent our budget. If I know we can hit the bottom line, it just makes good sense. I don't want to turn away people not being able to supply a product. And what we do is we adjust the book sales, If we don't need that many books on the shelf, we're saving space, we're saving, so there's a big savings with not bringing in a lot more books. And what we're doing is we're into the digital age and teaching people how to use it.
Can you not delineate that out on the budget?
At
The
this
fact that
town,
you are doing these downloads, and you're 100% right, it does cost. Every time you download something, it costs. But that should be, you should be able to say, here's my book and budget, but of the books, I'm not buying, for example, $100,000 worth of books, I'm buying $25,000, and the other $75,000 is going to downloads and digital stuff.
and
Can
the
we
library
break
staff
that out
has.
so that it's a little more, so it doesn't just look like, you're buying a ton of books that people aren't reading?
Exactly. The library staff, why don't you just answer that, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to address that. So I did actually talk to Justin, the finance officer, today, and I asked him if we can rename that line so that it's not so confusing. And it looks like we should be able to do that for the next fiscal year.
That's good.
So that will hopefully add some
People need to know
clarification.
this.
Yeah.
This is something that everybody needs to know.
Yeah, we admit that can be a little deceiving because you can look at that and say, why are they spending $100,000 on books and periodicals? That's not the case. It includes databases, it includes the downloads and books and periodicals, but
Well,
also
even
library
papers.
things. I'm sorry?
Like the paper, like the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
That's like $500,000 a year. I mean, these are all expenses
Yeah.
that people don't realize that, the whole library is part of that.
Yep.
I mean, these are all costs. They're not just, a book.
Yeah.
They're all things that everybody comes to see and use every day.
And again, I
Agreed.
just wanted to make sure that the general public who is here today understands. Mr. Belinsky has some great ideas and some great issues. And yeah, maybe just renaming it will clarify
Yeah.
some of the problems, Bottom line is, we meet our budget. Bottom line is, yeah, we're over, we'll probably be over 200% on this one item this year. You can't anticipate the growth of technology because it is so spontaneous, okay? I mean, we could, if we turned around and tried to double that amount and say, on our budget, the town council would die, because they would die. We can take it away from somewhere else, they wouldn't care. If we tried to put it that much more, double it or something, so bottom line, it's not we're trying to hide things, it's we're trying to live within, I'm sorry. Okay, so sorry.
I just wanted to nicely tap you, Liz. Okay. I just want to get us back on track.
Sorry,
Okay. Is it okay if I get us back on track and get going with the
I
minutes?
just had a quick question. What did Justin say we were gonna be able to do that?
For next year.
Next fiscal year, so
Okay.
probably fiscal 27, I would gather. Because we're doing fiscal 26 right now.
Okay.
Not till 27. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Donna.
I'm sorry, would you mind just stating your name and address for the record?
Oh, yeah.
You spoke.
It's Prince Navarro, 2 Woodbine Drive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we
I
have
wasn't
minutes.
sure if I was supposed to get up,
That's okay.
so I just sat.
We're on for We have some minutes we need to look at.
Yes, the minutes are in the packet.
They're all in your folders upstairs. They're always in the folders upstairs. We've never put them in the packet.
I have mine right here. Okay, so we have. We have minutes from last meeting, January 8th, but we also have the minutes that we got revised, and then also the non-public minutes from November 6th.
So we have as you were saying, it's the November 6th meeting minutes. So those, I believe, need to get resolved. Did you have notes on yours? Yeah. So Donna has some notes for suggested revisions
Okay.
for the November 6th, and then I thought we could do the non-public after that. But we'll have to. There's some other things to address for the non-public.
Okay.
So just a minor thing for the November 6th, because I know they've been revised, I think twice already. We caught that there was an issue, a discrepancy between the attendance, who is in attendance at the top, and then who did the roll call entering non-public. So Jan was not in attendance at this meeting, yet the non-public roll call says that she went into non-public. So I believe Jan should be changed to Christine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that also affects the non-public minutes because that roll call was used there.
So
So I can give you the line to be specific. It's line 178, where it says McLaughlin I. It should be Fitzgerald I.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick it up on the regular
Yeah.
minutes, but I picked it up on the non-public ones.
And I'm sorry, what it should be instead of McGoffin.
And it should be
Fitzgerald.
Christine Fitzgerald.
Jan wasn't here. Christine
Yes,
was.
okay, thank you.
Yep. And then that's the same for the non-public.
So the non-public would be the same members present. It would be not Jan, but Christine.
I also just wanted to note for non-public, I know there was conversation of you reaching out for legal counsel regarding releasing the minutes, but you could take, up to you if you want to decide to unseal them.
Yeah, you can certainly decide to unseal them, and then once they're essentially approved, we can post them on the website. So I think we were waiting for legal, to my understanding, we were waiting for legal counsel to decide what to do with them, because I think there was a lot of misunderstanding regarding them. So I think that's why they weren't posted originally.
Okay, so we need to vote the amendments we need to make to them?
6th.
Yeah, so you need to vote on the November 6th change
Okay, so I need a motion for.
for the public one.
For the public one.
Nancy Hendricks, so moved.
Second.
Thank you, second. All in favor of the public November 6th changes that we need to make with the roll call votes?
Aye.
Okay,
And then you need to make a motion to unseal the November 6th non-public minutes. And then, if you wanna have a discussion about them,
Right.
you can, or you can approve them. It's up to the board.
I make a motion to unseal November 6th.
okay.
Second.
Laura? Okay. I think there was just a lot of misunderstanding between the meeting and then trying to reach out to other things. I think
Well, that was the same time that the transition with Kim leaving, so I think there was a lot of, what's going on?
I'm fine with just voting, I don't know vote.
Okay.
Okay.
So, just to clarify, is the board okay with posting the minutes that are, they don't look like these? So, is it okay if they get posted as they look now?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think it's better to have them posted than,
There is a motion on, that should be
Yeah.
voted
Okay, we
on.
have to do the unsealing first.
okay.
I thought,
So motion,
Oh,
all in favor of unsealing those minutes from November, the non-public November 6th session?
Aye.
I abstain. Since I
oh,
wasn't
you were there.
Did you make the motion?
I didn't, not that one.
No.
Okay, and then we have the issue about whether they look the same, because they look a little bit different.
Yeah, because this is, I did the non-public minutes, to be honest, and I used a template, so it's not the same as the recording secretary. So, but all the information is there.
For this session, I'm fine with that, I'd rather just get them posted and have it be taken care of.
And this template came from the municipal association, so.
That's fine. So we need to go to that too?
Can we do discussion?
Sure.
I just had a question.
Mhm.
So I watched the meeting from last time because I missed the beginning part, and it said there was no tape to take the minutes from. So where was the content for that?
So we don't record non-public, you actually aren't allowed to record non-public. So these were Donna and I combined minutes from that meeting.
We took notes.
We took notes, like physical notes. And then once we put the notes into a document, this is the document. But to my understanding, you don't record non-public meeting. That's why it's non-public.
I think for going forward,
For privacy.
Liz or I should do that during non-public.
Yeah,
So
and actually for
not-
tonight's meeting, Liz has the exact template for this, for non-public, that she'll be filling in for tonight's meeting.
Okay, so are these the ones that you had passed out at the last meeting? Is this the same?
I believe it is the same, the only change was to change Jan to Christine, because Jan wasn't there.
Let me just pull it out then.
I think I handed them out, but we were gonna discuss it at this meeting.
Do we need to take a short recess?
I should have kept those. It's there, but I wasn't.
Can I just confirm that this is the one? I just wanna make sure I'm working off the same doc.
That's the one I recall.
Yeah, everybody got a copy of it.
Okay, alright.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept and post those minutes. So Liz and then
Second,
Nancy,
yeah.
all in favor of moving those minutes?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do
Okay,
that.
then January, now we need the January
Yep,
8th minutes, no, 6th.
8.
Someday,
Okay.
someday in January. It was cold.
No, it was cool. So yeah, so these are, and did you have notes on the January one?
Yes.
I think Donna has some suggestions as well on the January 8th.
So my first was to add.
What line number?
Yep, I'm gonna give you
Oh,
one
sorry.
more.
Okay.
To line 174, which is on page 4. My suggestion is to add, this comment was from me, to to specify that this was, I'm sorry, to give you context, this was regarding the discussion on trustees attending library events. I just wanted to add my comment.
I'm sorry, Sharon, so sorry, too much discussion.
I said I couldn't find my copy to.
I have
They should be in your folder.
I didn't
Okay.
stop at the folder, that's
Okay.
fine. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you want me to continue? Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Page 4, line 174, I'm just suggesting adding my comment regarding trustees attending library events that trustees, if you want to participate, need to register just as a patron would.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted that noted in there. And then I also had a suggestion for the voting. This was, I guess it would apply to the area of line 198 and 205 on page 5. I'm suggesting that to add some more clarity to the trustees' recommendation for the 2 warrant articles, to do like a total vote count after the lists of who voted for what. So basically, around line 198, you could do a total vote count saying 4 trustees voted to recommend. 1 voted not to recommend, 1 voted to abstain, like a total vote count. If that makes sense. Just for both of those.
What the budget committee does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be a better reflection of what's actually on the ballot.
it's called out in the notes though, of, you know, who voted and how they voted for everything.
This would just be like a summary of that.
It's like a total summary, if that makes sense. You don't have to do it, I'm just making the suggestion. That was it for me.
Like matches the ballot better, like if people were confused about why it was different, but if it's clear in here. I don't know.
It's up to the board.
Okay.
It's just a suggestion.
That's it.
Any lingering thoughts from January minutes? Does anyone have any feelings on the things that Donna suggested right now?
I think I'm fine if she wants to add those for clarification. I think that anytime we can be as clear as absolutely possible, the better.
I agree.
Can I get a motion to make the changes that Donna has suggested?
So
To those
And
meetings?
I'll second it.
So Nancy and then Jan,
Yeah.
all in favor of allowing those changes to be made to those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain because I missed part of the meeting.
I don't think it's needed. Opposed? Okay, abstain, okay.
Okay, so let's get the vote right. So we had how
Yeah.
many for?
4.
And somebody abstained?
Yes.
You abstained part.
And then we know. Okay.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
And Chair, I'd like to ask that in the future, that we keep with that policy, that we try and always identify what the spread is as well as who voted for what. Because I think that, again, it makes it clearer to some people, and for some people, maybe they need the shorter version versus the long list of people's names with
Within the minutes.
what they voted.
Duly noted. Jan, you're up for the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a plethora of things. There are some treasurer reports in here that are similar to the treasurer reports you've had in the past. There are also, if you haven't gotten your copies from me, there's 2 over here if you wanted those. I also passed out 2 items. The treasurer says and comments. It's supposed to be treasurer report and comment, and then this is the donation tracker. And so I'll explain those. First, these treasurer reports are not, they are not done by the treasurer. So they're done by a person here in the library, and that's been the way it's been done for a number of years, at whatever time in the distant past. That was passed off to the library, and the library has graciously allowed one of its people to do that as part of a job. And she does a nice job with it. So I just wanted to make it clear that I think that this is one of those things that should, just like we've done with the minutes, that we should be bringing back over to the treasurer should, maybe in collaboration, because obviously Colleen has access to all the the documents that necessarily, easily, which we don't necessarily have access the same way. So it would be good would be good to do it together or something along those lines, more collaboratively. So that's about these. So I don't know if you want to look at these and I would hold on to these and look at these, the next couple of things. The donation tracker, thank you to Maura. She went and talked on the phone with the Attorney General's office about what forms and reports we still needed to do, in addition to the finding out where the trusts are and who has to sign the reports and what happened with those. Also that they'd like a donation, they want the donations tracked, especially the cash donations. So we sat and went through a variety of documents that we could for the last couple of years. And so this 2-page document is the beginning part. I apologize for the fact that the first row of numbers doesn't have the last part of it, but I was using Google Sheets and I have no idea how to get the numbers to be. I figured it out down the bottom, but I don't know why. But anyway, I needed to come to the tech help, but I was busy making copies at Staples. This is just kind of a suggested. So this would be the whole idea is what they discussed at from the Attorney General's office is what they want us to do is be tracking what happens to those donations, especially the cash ones. Somebody gives $100 and they're going to give it for programming. Did we spend the whole $100? Do we still have $15 left? It's okay if we have money left. It doesn't matter whether we've spent it all, but somebody should be saying, oh, it's gone now, or yes, we spent it. If $100 came in for program, we spent $100 for program. So, or that somebody donated $50 to buy 2 books, we should be able to show, here's the 2 books, and that took up the whole $50. So, those kinds of things, so that we can actually keep track better of the donations, and then when we have to, so this says it's fiscal year 25, it's kind of a combination because we kind of went through a variety of things, because right now it's currently listed in 2 or 3 different places where the donations are recorded, depending upon what the donations are. So, and things like, gift cards. If gift cards are given to give to the kids for summer programs, that's a monetary donation. And obviously, some business is nice enough to give us a $25 donation or a $25 gift card. At the end of the program, we've given that away. So, that's easy enough to deal with, but we should have that in the donation tracker the same way. So I'm kind of proposing that we use a format similar to this, where we will track all of the donations somehow in a spreadsheet or whatever, and that we'll designate, whether it's cash or it's an item, and if there's, where it came from, if it's a particular thing, so that we can better represent where that money has come and gone. I don't think that there's any misappropriation of money or whatever else, but the more information people have, the better off we all are, because we can say, oh, that's where the money went. Oh, look, yes. We had 18 gift cards. Good, we had 18 gift cards. So, yeah.
I think there's some error here. G-Milk's donations went to the Friends.
What?
The G-Milk's donations went to the Friends. They didn't go to the trustees. The trustees gave us money toward G-Milk's, but every donation that came in for G-Milk's went to the Friends. So all those G-Milk's...
But where did the Friends donations go? Did they give them to you directly?
The Friends then made a donation to the trustees.
Okay, but
so they took the initial donation and then that donation...
Yeah, right, but the donations came in, and they came into the library, and they went into the trust account.
They went to the Friends account.
Okay, but then they went to the trust account.
As one donation.
Okay.
Not as multiple.
All right, well...
So, that's, to me, I'm reading this and it looks like that the trustees accepted all these donations for G-Milk's, when in reality that wasn't the case. So if the Friends are also counting that donation, then it's being counted twice in a sense, and it's a little confusing. So that's that's all, I just wanted to
Right.
clarify.
So I understand that. My advice would be to put, it's what comes into our accounts. And I said, we got those from the G-Milk's book, so maybe we were misreading the book and whatever, but oftentimes we found the numbers were a little bit off on some things. And this is we just went through it in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And kind of listed everything, and then I went through it and kind of put it all on here to see if we could come up with a system. And I like the idea if it's all on one place, that it all would be.
So is this tracker only for donations that go into the trustees account?
No.
Okay, that's what I guess where I'm
Anything
confused.
for the library.
So but the Friends are also tracking, so the Friends have tracked all their donations to my understanding. So
Okay.
can't we just get a report from them and then you guys would have your own report?
Well, that would be fine, but the Friends don't have the same trustee relationship with the state that we have. See, it's because we're trustees. The state wants us to document as trustees of the corporation of Leach Library to document where the donations, the money has come and gone.
So whether it goes to the Friends or the trustees, they want to know?
Right. Well, just like the $25 gift card. I mean, those came to you directly, right?
Well, we reached out to those departments.
Right, and they send it to you.
Yep.
So if I'm Papa Gino's, I send you a $25 gift certificate.
Right.
So you've got those at the front desk, but technically it comes into the library, so it's still finances that somebody has to account for. It's not to say we're doing something wrong or any of those things. It's just to be clearer to the public where money is coming and going, so they can say, oh, look, they need $400 in gift cards every year to do their summer program. Well, maybe I want to contribute something to that. Or, maybe I should ask my boss, because they didn't seem to answer the letter, so maybe I should make sure that my employer is contributing to that.
Is there you had mentioned to me that there was a form from the state, or are they just looking for a spreadsheet?
They're looking for something to attach to their form that says these are the trust documents.
Okay, so they don't have one that you have to fill out.
No.
Okay.
So they wanted us to come up with,
So we don't. So.
This is not ready to be turned in. This is like a draft.
Okay, so we're guesstimating that they want the date, how it came in, what it came for, is I'm assuming, or description, purpose, donation amount, and then what's remaining of that donation.
Right. So, and I would recommend that when at all possible that we, either mention the category, if it's a program that somebody has donated the whole program, we're not still getting, we don't have to figure out what's the dollar value and all that stuff, because that could drive us all crazy. But we could write down that they've donated the whole program, So just so that if somebody says, well, gee, I know Mary said they did a program on blah, 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 we could say, yeah, it was donated on that day or whatever. So as much as we can, and maybe we can get together with Colleen and figure out what the categories are or whatever that makes sense to you library folks.
Have you contacted other libraries to see if they do this?
I have not, but I assume that they're having the same discussions.
I'm just curious because if they've already created a sheet, we could maybe, why reinvent the wheel? Like, could we use theirs if the state has already approved it, and then we could just use theirs?
I don't have any problem with that. It just we're already not delinquent, but they'd already like last year's report. So, and then we should be collecting this year's information. So, we're trying to find ways to do that and come up with the information. We first looked at the minutes and the director's reports to find the donations, but we couldn't find it there. So we had to go further back into the details where things came in, and then there was multiple books to do that. So it was a fun, interesting time. And that it would be nice to also, so this is, I think that we also at some point, I think I said it with the reports, let me finish this one. So I think we need to come up with something like this. As long as I'm here, I would be happy to work with Colleen, and then whoever's the treasurer next time, if it's me or if it's Maura or whoever it is, that at least have something to start with. And then
She
we
can't
can.
wait to step up, she just said absolutely.
Also, if we use a Google Sheet, we can just share it so everybody
Yeah.
can see it simultaneously.
Right.
and it makes
It's
it
just
easier.
Jan has to figure out how to get all the numbers in the Google Sheet, so, yeah.
Liz Thomas, I have a question for Aaron. The Gmails, do they have like a chat type of feature where you can say, do any of the libraries, have any of the libraries come up with this form to meet this regulation of the state? And can we see a
Well, I
copy
can
of
certainly
it?
reach out because it's the board of, like, the directors are all on the board, and I can reach out
Yeah,
to the directors
maybe
and
we
ask
can-
them if they know anything about this or what they've done or what that looks like. I'm happy to do that.
If
Absolutely.
we come up with consistent thing that multiple.
Well, I don't want us to do more work than is necessary, and if they've already been doing it and they only need such and such and such, then let's do that. Like, why do more than is needed? And like I said, if they've already got a template that's working and that's been approved all the time, because apparently we haven't been doing this as far as I know, and years before me have been doing this.
There's no approved template, the only parameters are in the law, and that's not particularly helpful.
No, if the library's already created a document that we can just
One of
fill
the other
in,
libraries.
right?
Yeah.
Then that's what I'm talking
Right,
about. Like, then we
and-
can just use that.
I know that this includes more than what they were suggesting, because they were suggesting we are only required to track the monetary donations. But I think for clarity, we should be tracking all donations the same way. I mean, maybe not the box of books that comes in that doesn't end up in the collection of the library, but that we should treat all donations in a similar manner. So that's this one. This is just a draft. I'd like my board members and the library folks to kind of take a look at it and see if we can come up with things we need to change or things you'd like to see that's not there. As say, the treasurer's report is something that is not created by the treasurer, so maybe it should be called something like quarterly financial document or something, which is fine if it stays like that, or it should be done by the treasurer or the treasurer and the financial person here. Last meeting, we discussed the need for additional budgetary information at each meeting. And so I've kind of, in this document, highlighted the kinds of, based on what we went over, kind of looking at, well, what could we do without making it onerous on the library people or ourselves, and what might it look like? So I have made some suggestions there. Again, just take a look at it, and perhaps we can come up with, yes, this looks good, or add this to it, or whatever. But I also would recommend that the checkbook, when we write a check for Oscar Food or for reimbursement for mileage or something for or a program or something, that we use the same codes that are used in for the town for those budget items. Again, it makes it clearer. Oh, okay, so this was a 607 or whatever, if there's a 607 line item, just to make it clearer where money is coming, going, traveling, whatever. And then in this one is the description of the documentation for the library, so the second page. So again, this is just kind of Jan's, and also some of Maura's thoughts. We had like 7 pages of information that we had. That's where the information came from. Okay, so yeah. But
Sorry, I just wanted to add, I don't know if we were announcing ourselves, Donna Plant, Assistant Director, that after the discussion at the last meeting, Aaron and I did provide additional budget documents this meeting. And we found that the best way so that you get a most accurate look would be the prior month. So at this meeting, you're getting the December information, so that it does include like the interest when we get the bank statements. It gives the town, since you're getting a town look too, it gives the town finance department time to actually enter everything, so we're not giving you an incomplete look of a month, I guess is the best way. So in your packet, you got the ledger from the town. This is all the bills paid through the town for the month of December. And then you also got the check register for the book account, which is all the checks that we issued directly from the book account that either Kim or Jan signed.
And some of that might help also with the tracking the book of that group of accounts. So based on that, we could look at these quarterly reports and accept those as you'd like to do that. Do you have any? Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a quick note about the treasurer's report from July through September. You had already looked at this once. We were bringing it to you again because there was a typo on it. So the only change on it is that the total at the bottom was over $40 last. It was a difference of $40 last time. So this time we removed the $40 to be correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two, that's why there's two, the July one through September and then the October through December, so you might wanna make two motions for those.
Does anyone need more time with either one of those sections?
But these are both for the book account? Both
There's
the
the
account-
Trustee and the book account, top and bottom. Top is trustee, bottom is book account, it's labeled
The
there.
trustee account doesn't have that much in it, that's why I'm asking. Because
I mean, all
after we
those
spent,
checks have been written.
after we spent out the $17,000 we, for Gmails, we have about half that amount in the trustee account.
This is based on the bank statement. So, and I believe it shows the check for the Gmail payment on there.
Yep, it does. It's on the July through September.
So we have to, wise or accept these in
I think they have to be accepted separately because they're listed on
I
the
would like
agenda
to
separately.
table these then till next month, because I'd like to, make sure that the numbers align. So,
Certainly, your turn.
Okay.
Do we need a second to that table?
Well, we just need a consensus. Everyone's good with that? Okay. Erin, when you're ready, take a breath, take a sip.
Okay, so I'll kind of do a skim through the director's report. We had just a couple of kind of vendor things happen this month. We had some temperature sensor issues in the front area by the circulation desk. So we had E&E Systems of New Hampshire, which is our HVAC company, come out and take a look at that, and we're able to find the problem and fix it. We also had Hampshire Fire here to check sprinklers, and which you'll see later. There's a invoice, not invoice, a quote for that for what needs to be fixed. We also had Precision Pest Control just to check the our friendly mouse traps. And I know I brought that to you guys. I think it's been a little over 6 months now. And it seems the traps seem to be working really well. He hasn't found anything inside the library. I think maybe once he found a little mouse in the traps, but we have traps outside, so they seem to be catching it. So it's definitely made a big difference. Then we had Johnson Controls to check the fire extinguisher. Again, there's a quote in there for something that needs to be, the items that need to be replaced. And then just a note that we did replace our American flag out front with which I've worked at a few libraries and I've never seen the wind that I can see here. And that flag gets a beating. So we always have a couple extras on hand to replace when necessary, and that one definitely got a beating over between the wind and the ice and everything. So we replaced that and obviously properly recycled it at the town hall disposal thing. We were closed for Martin Luther King Day, and then I'm going to skip the program. They're wonderful, they're fabulous. And great. And then as far as meetings and trainings, I attended a bunch of meetings for the Friends, the GML's board meeting. Donna and I did attend the town meeting and budget workshop on the 20th, which I'll speak about later. It's on the agenda. And then some more meetings. We had a library department head meeting on the 29th, which we always wish we could have those more frequently, but our schedules do not accommodate that. So we were very happy to have one. And then me and Colleen and I attended the joint loss management meeting at Town Hall. And I had the Senior Resource Committee meeting last night, which was great. The other note is that we have 2 staff members celebrating anniversaries this month. Taylor has been here 7 years on the 12th, and on the 28th, Kelly has been here 3 years. So very happy to have them on board. And then again, I just included that list of items that are in your packet for this month. And any questions?
I just had one question because I missed the last meeting and I'm sorry, I just didn't catch this on the recording. You said that you raised $1,900 and so many dollars, but I didn't know what that was from, and I'm assuming that went into the trustee account?
It did.
Is that correct? Okay. And what was sold?
So we did a special, I had an idea at the beginning of last year to do a special, what we call holiday sale. Holiday special book sale, I forget exactly the name. And what we did was, as we got donations from the wonderful community, a lot of those donations were in either brand new condition, some literally still wrapped in plastic, or really great condition. And we put those out, priced a little bit higher. Nothing was more than $10. And we kind of advertised it as like, these are great gifts. And we made $2,000 pretty much in 2 months doing that. We are starting to collect for next year, actually this year already. And we actually, I think Jan had a great idea to keep a little table out for those higher priced items for people, because obviously birthdays and such all year round. So we do that. We have and as things don't move, we kind of switch them out with what we have already in the back. So and Kelly, one of my staff members, kind of took on the project as to help me out, and she did a great job putting together bundles of liked subjects, or as people found things at their own home, which I cleaned out my kids' bookshelves. We were able to put together some really great stuff. So.
And there was a real wide variety, both for adults as well as.
Yeah, there was fiction. We had cookbooks that went like crazy. Fiction. There's wrapped brand new DVDs, children's books, teen books. So it was really something for everybody.
And follow up, do we send thank you notes for stuff like that?
Those are just donations that come in anonymously from patrons. They'll bring in a box of donations and we say thank you. So we do not have the ability to send thank you notes for those. But we say thank you when they drop them.
So the other, just a kind of a follow up to that is, that was one of the things that we couldn't follow as to which ones had gotten thank you notes and which ones hadn't, as far as for the regular monetary donations. And there was something about, we changed the rules about who gets, when we thank somebody or when we write a thing. It said something, there was something, a note was on the top of some paper, I don't remember which document we was in, saying that we only, when someone makes a donation for this, we only write a thank you if they tell us they need a thank you. No.
Oh yeah, you've gotten.
Yes, the board previously, I think in the last year, updated their donation policy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when physical materials for the collection come in that they can request an acknowledgement letter, but otherwise we won't provide it. However, if a monetary donation comes in, we do always provide an acknowledgement letter.
And Donna writes yours.
Yes, and I am a little bit behind, so that may be why you're not
Yeah,
seeing
because there was all that other, I didn't look at previous, I went back, I just did the ones you've got in your office, I didn't do
Those are the current ones.
I didn't do the ones that were in the drawer, so.
No, those are really out there. They're like years.
I know, but it was like, well, I could have looked at those and then I would have seen more,
Yeah, yeah.
But it would be good to just, make sure, I just wanted to make sure, because I was hoping that monetary donations we were thanking people.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that's all my report. I don't know if you want ready to go on to Donna's.
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. During January, we did have a low number of materials added to the collection, 142. That will be bouncing back this month because we already have stuff piling in every day.
Yes.
So it was kind of a result of the end of our pause in ordering for migration, and now we're back to ordering and stuff is starting to really come in. However, during that time when we weren't cataloging as much, I just wanted to give a special thanks to Kathy, who's our main cataloger, because she made a lot of good progress with our DVD series cleanup, which was left over from our migration. I mean, there's still a lot more data cleanup to do, but it was something that was on my plate that I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to touch this. And she was able to take that on while we weren't cataloging as much. So thanks to her. I also wanted to note that just an update regarding our flooding, or insurance money with flooding, that since we're back to ordering, this month we will start placing orders of the items we need to replace from that damage. So those will start coming in with our regular stuff. We do have a little bit of a strategy in terms of storing them because it's going to come fast, and I already mentioned that I'm concerned storage-wise and staff time-wise. So we have come up with a little bit of a plan. It's just hard because we don't really know the volume and how fast it's going to come yet, but I'll continue updating you. Erin mentioned we had a department head meeting, so I just wanted to share our bullets for things that we discussed. So we decided that 4 staff members will attend the spring NHLA conference in April.
It's coming, don't worry, spring is here.
And it's a 2-day conference, and we're gonna each go one day, so it'll be 2 people each day. So that will be forthcoming. We discussed IT updates, which included our new recording equipment in the meeting room, upcoming changes to the town website, which we have a hand in because we're making decisions for the library's homepage, and also the Polaris upgrade, which I'll bring up in a minute. We also talked about opportunities to cross-train some more staff because we are identifying responsibilities that only one person knows how to do it. So we're trying to make sure there's a backup whenever possible. Yeah, you don't want to be left without no one knowing how to do something. And then the Polaris upgrade did happen on the 30th. It was successful. We did work offline for the morning, but we were back up by the afternoon, which was great.
Earlier than me.
The public catalog was down for the whole day, but it was back up the next day. They were still able to search offline. It's just that there wasn't any live data that was updated in it. And then I also went to a Gmail group meeting with the metadata group, and I met with Kirsten to talk about the town website upgrade. And I also wanted to, I'm not sure if Megan put this in her report, but I did just want to follow up to share that today in our newsletter, we did, she did put it in there, we did announce that our limited time pass for this year is Strawberry Bank. And so their active season is end of April through end of October, so that pass will be available to patrons. However, right now, they also offer ice skating on the property, and that pass can be used for a discount while that's available weather-wise.
Although I think it's gonna do great.
It is for the next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is live on our museum pass reservation system.
We had a lot of requests for that, and that's why we chose that pattern.
Laura? I just had a quick question on the Gmokes, because I saw that we purchased maintenance and stuff through them. Is that a proprietary software?
For Polaris.
For the Gmokes checking out system, which I'm assuming is for Polaris?
Yeah, so Gmokes has a contract with Polaris for a certain number of years that they already had prior to us joining. And so that company does, oversee that system. And the Gmokes staff members, there's 2 staff members, are the ones that are handling all the communication with that vendor. If that helps answer that question.
Yes. Yeah. So our IT department has nothing to do with any of those upgrades, which gives our IT department a break to do other things. And then included in your packet, obviously, is the other department reports. So I'm happy to move on if you want me to.
Yes, so,
Oh, of course.
just under, did you already get to programming and activities?
I could share that too, that I did include that whole spreadsheet that was requested for the calendar year.
I just had a couple questions about that, if you don't mind. So,
Sure.
we have February vacation coming up. So is that in your report that you have some activities planned?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
We had lots of activities.
Okay, and the other question that I have.
It's on the calendar.
Okay, thank you. Activities, is, I know that this is kind of in advance, but last year I felt like we were rushed to get something planned for Juneteenth. So I just wanted to, not tonight for discussion, but at some point, if you could just let us know what you have kind of in the making for Juneteenth this year, that would be great.
Sure. So our staff is working on summer programming right now,
Yep.
which would be June through August. So we can pass on that there's interest in us
Yeah,
doing
I
something
don't
again.
need a full, detailed report. I just felt,
Yeah, it was hard to get somebody, yeah.
Last year,
I remember
I
that.
just felt like we were scrambling, so I just wanted to make sure that didn't go by the.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
And along the same line, last year, we also, I also felt we were kind of scrambling for, getting some materials or whatever up for Veterans Day.
Yes, yeah.
And for, Memorial Day, so
And
for
Flag
either
Day and
those
all
two,
those other days.
yeah, so that we're also, dealing with, it might not, we don't have to have speakers necessarily,
Right.
just, you did a great collection of books that dealt with, veterans and things, that was what fun.
Yeah, we try to look at each month and see kind of
Right.
like, for example, we have Black History Month up right now. So we try to use the bigger table for like those kind of things because we have a lot of materials for those kind of things. But certainly we do try to do things for those major holidays as best we can.
Well, especially, since we have an awful lot of veterans in town, and it's a good thing that we, I would like us to at least continue to,
I think it worked
encourage
out the
that.
Historical Society, right?
The Historical
We were able to
Society
work with
did
them
a great display in the display case with some materials that they had. That turned out really nice.
I think it's great if we can collaborate with them.
Yeah, and it's nice to do something different each year. Sometimes the same book display every year.
Right.
So if we can do something like that was great.
Right, Liz?
Liz Thomas, I'd like to add that maybe on 4th of July, have a big, happy birthday America type of thing. A picture of a birthday cake or something like, you know what I mean? Celebrating the
See if we can
birthday.
get cake donated, we'll have to.
Yeah, we could have cake. I'm just saying that, we should try to celebrate the 4th of July in some way too.
Okay, we'll do our best. That's a lot of requests.
I know. Patriotism.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm happy to see all the numbers of the participants, it's great, I love the breakdown of that. I love seeing, especially on the children's room page, 115 participants in Wiggle Worm, toddler time,
Awesome.
64 in Little Sprouts baby. Those were things that didn't exist when I had my son that I wish had. So it's amazing to see that level of participation, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
And it is nice to see it in the report.
May I add one more thing about that? I just wanted to clarify. I know this had come up when we originally talked about that full calendar year spreadsheet that we supplied tonight. But I just wanted to make sure you know that this does not include passive programs because we discussed you didn't want that information. So, however, when we are considering our participation for the whole year, we do include passive numbers. So I didn't want you to think that you were getting, why are I getting a much lower number?
So the passive would equal for what?
Yeah, so an example of that would be like craft kits that we have
Okay.
kids take home.
Okay.
Or like the poster exhibit that we offered last
Okay.
year. Since there's no active staff member facilitating it.
Got it.
However, we're still putting staff time into offering it. But yeah, that's how we differentiate active versus passive.
So, and you do a count of the number of craft kits that went out?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Alright, so I think we're ready to move into business.
Old business? Sure. So the first thing on old business is the budget for FY26. So I just want to kind of give you an update on where we're at with that. On January 20th, the Town Council and Budget Committee, there was a Town Council and Budget workshop. Just a side note, at that meeting, the council did decide, as you all know, not to fill the vacant trustee position. So that was decided at that January 20th meeting. So going back to the budget, there was a suggestion during the time of that meeting by a town council member to cut the library an additional $30,000 on top of the $10,000 we had already cut. This was, to our understanding, a response to our merit and COLA again. So Donna did speak to this at the meeting. Did you want to share what you spoke for?
Sure, I shared that, first there was an kind of comment that the request was due to the fact that so much time had been put in by the school and the town in terms of renegotiating union contracts, that they were looking for the library to basically fall in line with where they were at with the two other boards. I did share that the library also put time in by doing their personnel subcommittee, and those minutes were available publicly online. And I also shared that a big factor in staying where we're at with the personnel policy is that more than half of the staff is part-time and does not receive health insurance and retirement benefits, which is a huge savings to the town and the taxpayers for that matter. But that the board is concerned in terms of having like a retention strategy. That's really what they're using. And I was speaking more as someone who was present at those personnel policy subcommittee meetings, not so much trying to speak for any member of the trustees. But that's what I shared. And after that, the discussion didn't really go further than that.
So to our knowledge, that suggested cut did not go forward. I would like to also mention that the next night there was a budget committee meeting. I was unable to attend that meeting, but I did watch the recording. And I was a little concerned that there was a suggestion from one of the budget committee members, where they were speaking in regards to the children's librarian position, that their suggestion was instead of getting more staff for the children's room, just to do less programming, which is very frustrating that their solution would be to provide less to our community because they don't want to pay for someone to
That would go
be in a position.
direct opposite to what I just said about
Yes.
all the great people.
So that was a little frustrating to hear. I just wanted to share that in case you did not see that meeting.
What was the date on that meeting? I missed that.
It was the 21st.
You
The
put
day.
that link in too, right?
I believe I shared that
Did you
link
share that?
in an email.
It
Yep.
should be in your email.
And then also I just wanted to bring up the citizen petition that's out there regarding library furniture. As I've stated before, I was not aware of this request until after the petition went through or was submitted. So I was not involved in that $40,000 number. So I don't know where that came from. And I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I did not have any involvement in that. It is extreme, but citizens are allowed to do that. We are attending, both Donna and I, the deliberative session this Saturday. It starts at 9:00 at the high school. I would like to share concerns that things that I have heard regarding what's going to be said at that meeting. I have heard things that will be said that there's going to be a request to defund the library. I've heard things that there will be a request to cut the total town budget by $1.5 or $2 million, which oddly 1.5 is the library budget. So that's interesting. This is terrifying. The fact that these things are even being said out loud and even being discussed is very concerning. I would like to say that my staff are extremely concerned that they will be losing their jobs, or the library will no longer, sorry. The library will no longer be a place that they want to work. I know some of you don't see this stuff online, but the staff does, and they are scared. And I am scared. I try to reassure them and support them as much as I can, but I have learned that the same fate of being fired or let go or whatever people want to call it goes for me too. So I just want to ask the trustees, and maybe this can come up in a conversation, that if they have a plan to put our staff at ease. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, those are just rumors, but it's being said an awful lot, and it's being said by a number of people. So it's hard for our staff to look at those rumors and not feel safe in their job, and not feel safe that the library is going to be a place that they would want to work. So I do ask the trustees to really think about the staff and what they're experiencing and seeing and going through. So that's all I have for the budget. I apologize.
So legally, because this building was bequeathed to the town for the purpose of having a library, they can't take the library away.
They can shut it down, and it cannot exist, or it can exist less than what it is right now.
They have to keep it open.
Yeah, they
But-
have to because of the specifics of the request.
But they can keep it open with 2 staff members and less hours. So like I said, the library itself could change in the way it looks like. I hope that's not the case. I hope that you're right and that but that's, the staff don't hear anything from the board as a comforting statement. That that the staff don't hear that the board is advocating for them. That they hear a lot of people that come in, and we are so appreciative of it, that they love the library, they love what you guys are doing, they love everything that's going on here. But there are also a group that is very well organized that are saying quite the opposite.
Well, I mean, the town part aside, because the town budget is far bigger and the town has their own separate stuff going on.
Absolutely.
And you have to be careful with these rumors too. Absolutely, because I mean that request should protect the library for sure, 100%, because legally that's what it's in there for. But
also the RSA also says that the town can't defund a library.
Yep.
Because it's not. That's why the funds are kept separate.
And I understand where you're coming from, and I understand about rumors because they're often insane and ridiculous. But separate the town stuff too, because the town has other stuff going on. Definitely.
Yeah, but the things that we are hearing and that my staff is seeing is very focused on the library. And that's what they're concerned about, because that's where their job is.
Right.
So I'm just advocating for them.
So, kind of along those lines, my concern is that just kind of we hold up. Some things are held up as saying, well, the library doesn't do this or whatever, and then and we shouldn't support. Somebody will say, well, we shouldn't have a children's librarian because the kids don't really need a librarian that knows anything about children's books. But the other thing is, let's talk about positions. Now, we're asking for a children's librarian, and to be a librarian requires a master's degree. Is that correct?
Yes,
You have to have a master's degree. And I'm not trying to cause dispersions on other departments that have requested personnel, but you've also requested 2 police officers to do traffic safety. And the librarians, including the salary as well as all the benefits, is $120,000 for one person. The 2 police officers for traffic safety is like $450,000. So it's like, well, wait a second, we're not talking apples to apples yet. We're always said, if we compare you to the other the other groups, well, yeah, but you only compare us certain times. We'll compare you to this group now, we'll compare you to, and the people that don't have contracts, So, I also encourage anyone who supports the library and its programs to please come to the deliberative session. We want to hear your voices supporting the library and its programs. And I plan to be there on Saturday, and I hope that other people will too, because the more voices that we have, the better chance that we have to get to keep things as they are and not to lose things. And as far as the staff, I'm sorry the staff feels bad, and I understand them feeling bad. I do too when I read things. Of course, I just try not to read things like that online. But we also don't. Well, I also don't engage in the public. Be on Facebook or whatever, and try and answer all those people that are saying bad things and things, just because I think that just encourages more of it to keep going. So that's my feeling and how I handle, and I feel that way about social media anyway. So that's just kind of, I have a very low profile on any of that stuff. So anyway, that's I'm sorry that your staff feels bad at night, but I understand why they do, because I also feel bad as a trustee when people call me and say, why are you doing this, or why is this happening? And I'm like, well, that hasn't happened, but that's what I heard. And I said, okay, well, I can tell you it hasn't happened because there's not a way for that to happen. So I just so I understand it. It's really frustrating, and hopefully we'll get through this budget season, and then we'll go forward, because it's too good a library to lose.
any other questions with the budgets?
I
Or-
plan to be a deliberative as well. I will be there as well.
Great.
And we get put on Charlie.
Thank you. You want me to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we're talking about the bylaws, that's on the, agenda. Donna had notes, related to some of the some things regarding the bylaws, the draft that you guys had sent out. She had emailed them all to you, I think it was yesterday.
Not leaving just cold.
Agreed. So did you?
So I just want to clarify, I didn't email them to the whole board. I
Oh,
emailed
my
them
apologies.
just to the bylaws subcommittee. And I do apologize for those on the subcommittee that it took me this long to do, because I know I had agreed to do it the last meeting to email you my notes. And it didn't happen. I had a draft working the whole month, and I finally got a minute yesterday to focus on it, and
I saw the email come in, thank you, I just
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to.
no, that's okay, I understand.
Kind of let it sink in.
Since we're discussing tonight, do you want me to go through
The other,
list of notes that I did?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The other thought that I had, and I don't know how the board feels about this, is the fact that we're getting potentially at least one, if not, I don't know as far as voting, but new committee members. Should we table this for the new members potentially coming in to have input on this, since it obviously would be affecting them? That was just before we go through all those discussion to save time. That's certainly up to the board.
Liz Thomas, trustee. Just to let you know, my strategy has already been that I will not be tabling it. Anything to do with changing the bylaws and everything else, I am going to move to indefinitely postpone, which means that these motions, which means that this month we won't vote on it.
Okay.
And my reasoning is that we have a new board coming in next month. I don't think we should be throwing our baggage and decisions on that new board. I think that new board, they will see all the recommendations, they'll be given everything, and I think that, for want of less than 30 days, that I don't think we should be jumping into, adopting changes at this point. That would be my motion. So if we do go, if anyone goes into, make a motion to do anything with these, I will be moving to indefinitely postpone the motion.
I just want to add, I guess my suggestion would be to, if you're all looking to wait until the new members join the board, is to have a working draft for them that you've already kind of had some discussion on. And then you could have more discussion when they join, I guess is my suggestion.
My only concern, I wouldn't want to throw this at them right away when they walk in April. I would want, and I know we are trying to get things firmed up, in a sense, so I would only not want, I hear that side completely, so I'm trying to decide, it's really 2 more meetings, right? It's this meeting,
Oh, we have
the March
and
meeting, and then it really, it'll start
so they would be in April, yeah.
So I'm trying to decide what I think would be best, then do not overwhelm those people coming in, if they're.
Liz Thomas again. I think to adjust that, you have to, there's 7 board members, there's only 3 positions open. So there's 4 board members that are gonna stay and retain their office. And I feel that we're all very qualified to do that we can mentor and work with them. And I think you have some good drafts that are ready to look at. But I just think that I really feel that I would be doing a disservice to the new board, if I'm making decisions now for someone else in less than a month. That's just my feeling.
So, I can see both sides as well, I mean, but, yes, so, and you ladies have to help me with this, but I didn't see any of the changes that to your point, that we had talked about in terms of professional development for new members.
Should have been in there.
Did I
I'm not sure this is our copy.
This is a copy that Christine sent to Helen to send to me to print.
I might have, that might be my mistake, I might have
Okay.
sent her the wrong version, but I have.
Okay, so it is in there,
Yeah.
professional development.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it was all in there.
All right.
So that's not the copy that you sent Helen with the notes, or are those notes supposed to be in here? I guess is my question.
Well,
So-
under the resources, there's information under resources about for new members. Under resources.
Okay. All right, yeah, so I did update it, so it was out of the red line, I believe.
Oh, okay. So all the notes that you had, the comments in that other document are represented here. Just so
Yes.
okay, that's fine. Okay, I didn't know if they were two different
Yeah,
ones.
no, I printed it two different ways so I could see what was actually changed in red line format versus
Yeah.
Okay,
like what a final
Okay.
was.
that works for me.
I like the idea of adopting it as like a working document, like this is the working document that we've got. And, bringing it forward that way, I don't think that it's gonna change anything dramatically, since it's already been looked at and, we've discussed it at a number of meetings, but I think that way it would be,
Also, most of it, what's in there is just, it's citing RSAs and laws
Yeah.
that we can't change anyway. So
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
a summary of all that.
yeah. And I think that's one of the important things that it has in it.
Okay. I guess there are, in my notes, if you'd like me to go over them, there are a couple of larger ticket items that I do think, if you're looking to implement these today or even next month, that this, like, we need further clarification on, I think. So, and I would say that this is the first meeting that there has been any discussion. Last month, it was presented at the meeting, and no one, I don't think, had a chance to look at it at the last meeting. So this is really the first opportunity for full board discussion. So I guess my question again is, do you want me to go over my list of notes tonight?
I think you should, because
Okay.
I think if we're gonna think about a working draft and then.
I mean, it's possible that Donna could go over the notes and then everybody take that back, absorb all of that, and then we come back again. That's possible too, I guess.
So Donna, please go ahead.
Buckle up, you're ready.
So on page 1, Article 1, Section 2.2, this is a minor thing. This is again based on an RSA. So in order to match kind of the content of the RSA, I would suggest adding to the last sentence that let me read the whole thing, sorry. The trustees shall provide names of interested individuals to the town council, which will then be appointed by the town council to 1-year terms. That is from the RSA. Just to make it clear, because above, I believe it was mentioned that trustees have 3-year terms. So it would just clarify that alternates would be a 1-year term. Article 1, Section 3.2, which is on the same page. There was a suggestion of the board chair, establishing memorandums of understandings with the Friends, which I think that's a great idea. I would also suggest that the board also considers making an MOU with the town. And my reason for that is that there have been a lot of questions about who provides what services this year in particular. So there's been questions about the town paying for the library staff's health insurance through their budget. Snow removal has come up, legal fees have come up. All of those could be addressed in an MOU with the town. My other suggestion is that the initial establishment of that MOU should really be assigned to more than just the chairperson, because it is a lot of work. So my suggestion would go to like a subcommittee or something, just for the first initial time, and then when you revisit it every year or whatever terms it has, then you could appoint that to the chair if you want.
And I would recommend that the treasurer be involved with that too. Whoever that may be.
Good on that one. So still Article 1, Section 3.6, which is on page 2. The RSA referred to, which is RSA 202-A:12-A, it says the RSA itself says that the report needs to be filed with the Office of the Attorney General, and in the bylaws as they are right now, it says the Charitable Association. And that RSA also spells out that it's a report for trust funds held by the library, the Board of Trustees, and the board does not currently hold trust funds, the town does. So I would suggest adding language, if you want that in there for future, that just says if the board holds trust funds, that report would need to be filed.
I just think that based on discussions with the charitable arm of the Attorney General's office, that they consider our trust accounts as not being a trust fund, but about being something that we need to account for. So that would still come under this area because that's what they're looking for. So it may not be the thing that the RSA is pointing to, but someone at the state level is trying to point to. They'd like us to be clear on that. So
then I would suggest taking the RSA out of it, because that's not what this RSA refers to, and instead specifying that, like you said, if you're going to do that donation tracker, that instead including language for that process. So that was 3.6. Article 1, 3.7, which is underneath it. I suggest, and I know you're going to talk about the NHLTA Code of Ethics later, but this, if the board is looking to adapt those as like their own code of ethics that they're going to follow, this might be a good place to refer to them. That's my note there. On to Article 2, Section 1.9, which is on page 3. I had some clarifying questions about this, as this is an entire addition, that the trustees shall review any and all contracts associated with the Leach Library. I'm wondering if what this looks like in terms of staff work. So, are you looking for any new contract that we don't already have to be approved by the board? Are you looking for contract renewals to also be approved by the board? Are you looking for every time a contract is renewed? Are we finding competing quotes? So basically presenting competing quotes every year for every renewal. And I also am concerned if you're doing renewals about the time frame to discuss them, because some of our contracts you need to give like 60 or 90 days written notice to remove yourself from the contract. So we may be having to discuss it several months in advance, but we want to give us room. If you don't want to approve it, then we need to find another contract before the contract lapses. So there's just, I guess, a lot of detail to work out
for the staff.
My suggestion would be that the board, if you want to, reviews and approves brand new contracts, and the staff could, we could come up with a list of existing contracts that we could give to you during like budget season, so that you know what's already in place, how much it cost us, the terms of it if you want.
When it expires.
Yeah, exactly. So that would kind of be my compromise, I guess. That would limit the staff time, but still hopefully give you the information you're looking for. So I'm just, I guess.
I'd like to chew on that, but I certainly think new contracts for sure. As a trustee, I certainly would like to see a new contract. You know, let's just say we're considering a new contract for some IT equipment. For sure, I'd like to see that. If we had a contract that was expiring or coming up for renewal, you know, sometimes contractual agreements or terms of an agreement change, and I think the board would want to at least see that as well. And I think that anytime the library enters into anything contractually, I think at least should at the very least be put in front of the board.
I do believe that's already been, like the new contracts has already been happening. My concern is are you looking to revisit it every year when it's renewed? Because really, if you think about it, you're going to end up you say you have a brand new contract that you approve, and the terms say that in order to release ourselves from the contract, you're going to have to give written notice of 90 days. You'd end up talking about the same contract again in probably 7 months to give yourself some leeway with the lapse. So it'd be a lot more on your board meetings as well. So I guess I would like to find a middle ground.
So when we were reviewing, we looked at multiple different libraries in the area, and all of them had that same stipulation because ultimately we're responsible for the purchases and the assets of the library. So what I really think is that we do need to have access to those contracts.
I'm not refuting access
Yeah.
or the information at
That's
all.
not the
That's not my thing. My concern is what this statement actually looks like in procedure, like because it doesn't specify whether it's saying review, but are you approving brand new? Are you approving all renewals? Like that's what I'm looking for.
Or do you just want to like?
Or you just want a copy of it?
Where's the role of the board?
Yeah, exactly.
I think, well, our role is that we are supposed to approve anything that gets expensed by the library.
But I guess we're just trying to kind of, are you talking brand new contracts, like brand new things that we're getting, or?
We're responsible.
So
for the
every year you want to see all the contracts that we renew?
Yes.
So I guess the question to that is, which is fine, I don't have a problem with that, but if you look at it and let's say, okay, our renewal is, for example, let's say we have a renewal for our HVAC company coming up in April. I present you that contract in March. You say, okay, we don't want to go with them. Well, what about that 60 or 90 days? We can't just cancel it. We're going to have to owe them money.
So you'd have to show it to us in February, or you'd have to show it to us in January. So you could have that time to be able to do it, I would think. That's what I would guess. And I do know that smaller libraries in other towns, the board is more involved with that kind of thing. I think in the past, things have shifted a lot here, and I think we're trying to shift it back so that we're back meeting the requirements based on the RSAs, which says that the board is the organization that creates the budget, approves the budget, and is responsible for all the contracts and the money that comes in and out of the library. So I think it's just as a clarification.
Maybe there's a way we can help though. I don't want it to
A
feel
calendar would be good.
Right.
You could have a calendar of what's
I
coming up.
can imagine how much work that is going to be. If there's a way we can assist with that though, so that it's not just all falling on you guys in some way. So let us brainstorm. Maybe we can think about what we can do, because I don't want it to be additional things that we're adding. We keep adding those to your plate. I know the feeling for you guys. Nancy, what were you gonna say?
I think that I agree with that. But overall, we are the financial and responsible entity. So, I mean, let's just say we had a bunch of notebooks and you had a contract on all these notebooks and the contract was going to expire. You're not suggesting that you're just going to renew that contract without bringing it to us, right?
No, I guess we're just trying to get clarification on what you want.
Okay.
Because this does not say the level of what you want.
No, I understand that, but I'm just trying to tell you that I think that if we were going to renew a contract on 200 notebooks, we'd want to know, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not agreeing with that. Yeah.
Okay. Just so to answer your question, a renewal, yes, I think that we have to be advised.
Okay. Would you also, at the same time as the renewal, want competing quotes, or would you want to discuss the renewal first and then potentially ask for competing quotes?
We need you on that.
Okay.
If we were talking about like maybe a vendor, for like to your point, our HVAC service, that probably should be rebid every few years. I don't know how long our contracts go with HVAC services.
So for
example.
For that example, they're renewed every year, and we actually have used the same company that the fire and police and town hall use. So we actually get a better deal because there's more of the town using it, and Ted could certainly speak to this as well. So it would, in my opinion, may not be beneficial for us to go out on our own.
Sure.
Plus, this particular company has done a lot of work, I know in our building, and I'm sure in other town buildings, getting it up to a place where the last company we had, to my understanding, we were not getting the filters changed out when we should have. This company, we're on a maintenance plan for spring and fall.
Great.
There's a very well organized, excellent communication.
So probably for me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but to keep us rolling here, probably for in a case like that, for our HVAC, I wouldn't feel like we would have to review that in any extensive detail. But for materials, that we have, that we're renewing, a copier, for example, or a printer, network, whatever the case may be. If we have contracts or leasing contracts out on things and they're coming up for renewal, I think that we would want to review them, wouldn't we?
Yeah, the copier.
Sorry?
Or we did the copier.
Well, just as an
Right.
example,
So,
I mean, could I offer a suggestion that maybe that when we know something's coming up for renewal, however many months back you go, send out an email instead of waiting to the next board meeting saying, this contract is coming up, this is when it's going to expire, this is when we need to know, if you have any changes or if you want us to have any, competing contracts, go for quotes on it.
you know what, you might be sick of a company. Maybe you're gonna renew a contract on somebody that you wanna dump. Well, okay, let's get rid of them, get somebody else.
And
Right?
then just give the trustees a due date,
Yeah.
saying if I don't hear by such and such a date, I will assume everything's okay to move forward as
So
intended.
with that, I would ask that the trustees check their emails. Because we send out quite a bit of things and then we are told that they never receive them, and that's because people aren't checking their
That
emails.
might be a topic
So
for another day.
that's a topic for another day, but I'm happy to do that.
But for tonight, we're talking
Yep.
about this language for contracts, and so I think that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can put something together. I can even do like a calendar thing
I
and
think.
this way I could hope, I'll try to put it together where you have like almost a full kind of visual of when contracts are coming up, so that we can all be kind of aware of that.
And I think that having a calendar, doesn't necessarily have to be like shaped like a calendar, but a list of here's the things that come up in January and here's the things that come up in February, and maybe it's remember this is the deadline is back in October or whatever to be able to meet the requirements for the 90 days, 60 days, whatever it is.
If no one responds to the email, then that's on to the that's on the individual for not responding.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
No business.
I know.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can email a document. You don't have to. It's not discussed.
You're not voting on it.
It's
We're just emailing information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, Donna, just.
Oh, please.
Okay. Article 2 to section 2.1. There was an addition regarding the library director's term of employment agreement. I just wanted to note that can, definitely apply to a future library director. But if the board wishes to add new terms to Aaron's employment, I would suggest seeking legal counsel, just because the RSA specifies that it should be agreed upon at the time of employment. So I just wanted to note that. Article 2, section 2.2. This might be a good place to refer to the purchasing policy, because it does list the library director's responsibilities a little bit. And the purchasing policy in its current state names the director as the library's designated purchasing agent. So just a suggestion there. Article 2, section 2.5, which is on page 4. This is the one I briefly brought up at the last meeting, that it conflicts with the purchasing policy. I would suggest that this language just refer to the purchasing policy, and you could add these specifics to the purchasing policy if you want to. My concern with putting it here is that there's no wiggle room with emergencies, whereas the purchasing policy is very clear about emergency situations. So that's just my suggestion there. On to Article 3, Section 1.2, just the order of the meeting agenda. There was an addition to just have hard copies of the assistant director and department head reports. I would suggest just leaving that up to the current board to decide what they want to do, instead of spelling it out here. Again, just my suggestion, because the next current board may want, someone here in person presenting it to them. And then I also wanted to note, because you were going to remove the town updates, and I was just thinking that if a town council liaison is attending, that a town updates section would still be helpful. Article 3, Section 1.3, which is page 5. There was an addition that the assistant director or other department heads will only attend on an as-needed basis. While I'm okay with that because I have lots of other things to do library-wise, I do think there are some things that you need to consider that will impact. Like, sometimes I feel like there are decisions that could be slowed down if Erin's not able to answer all your questions about something where I might have an answer. Also, right now, I'm taking some very basic notes to compare to the recording secretary's notes and making some changes when, like, she can't hear a name or she doesn't have the who made a motion and seconded, or like times, like the time you enter non-public, like that sort of thing. So you would really need, I don't know if you want the secretary just doing that going forward, but that's something I'm doing right now that someone else would need to do. Also, I'm currently kind of making sure the recording equipment is functioning, both of them now, and starting them up. Drew's not going to be here for every meeting to make sure it's going smoothly, so you would need to give that to someone else. I would say that Erin is very invested in the meeting most of the time and won't really have the ability to check that.
I personally would love to have Donna here.
So that's just
for those very reasons. And, if something, I take notes and, I feel like it would be perhaps for me to have a second person here for myself. And, Donna and I sometimes review, she'll remind me or I'll remind her, oh, don't forget we have to do this before the next meeting, like those kind of things. It's very helpful to have a second person to be here helpful. So I would advocate to have the assistant director here.
I also, as a kind of an aside, there's nothing, I don't think, in the bylaws right now that speaks to this, but there's been a little bit of discussion about the board taking back responsibility for reviewing staff annual reviews. I don't know if you want that specifically mentioned in here or not. It really just mentions that the board will be doing the library director's review. My concern there is that, really, to be ultimately fair to the staff, you should be presented the review by the direct supervisor. We have 5 different direct supervisors on staff, and sometimes, depending on the month, there are multiple staff members that have different supervisors. So I think I looked at the calendar of reviews and found that during one meeting you might have 3 or 4 supervisors that might need to be here in attendance to present those to you. So that's something to think about if you're going that way. Article 3, Section 1.5. This is the trustee objection. The board had previously discussed this and decided not to adopt it because you follow Robert's Rules of Order. And this is specific to, I think, right now the town council, which does not follow Robert's Rules of Order. So I didn't know if you wanted to discuss further. I just figured I'd note that. Article 3, Section 1.6, for public comment. I recommend adding some information. There was a note about how speakers would be able to request time on the agenda if they need more time. Just include information on how they should do that. I would suggest probably that speakers may contact the chairperson and probably say at least 1 week in advance so that they'd be able to go on the agenda. So that's my suggestion there. You could also refer to the public speaking guidelines that you already have in place, or possibly I think those would need to be updated to match your language here, but you could refer to those if you want. Article 3, Section 3.1, there's just an extra the annual meeting. Just take out the and. Article 5, Section 1.2. there is no New Hampshire State Library Association. I think you might be referring to New Hampshire Library Association, but I'm not positive. That's the same association that the staff are in. Article 5, Section 1.2, which is on page 6. So the New Hampshire Library Association is, as far as I know, typically like a library staff member resource and association. I do know that trustees can get a discounted membership with them, so if that may be what you're referring to. And then what's the last one here? Oh, I just wanted to note in Article 5 too that tonight Erin is reviewing a potential list of information for the trustee binders, which may complement this list, but I at the very least would like to recommend adding that the current year's and next year's budget should be included in this list. And then I had one more that didn't make it on my notes from my email, I apologize. But in Article 6, Section 2.1, which is the cooperation with other libraries, I strongly feel that Gmail should specifically be mentioned in here, just to indicate that you're making good with your contract with them.
Just we thought we were done.
Which is partially why we didn't want it approved tonight.
Any reaction to any of those? Or maybe all those things?
That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have to have another meeting. I thought we were done.
So we're talking about piggybacking the purchasing policy, like within this, so we're gonna hold off on the bylaws for now, we're gonna think
Yep.
about, these suggestions we've gone, maybe going, and then, but I know, like, the bylaws and the purchasing policy are very intertwined, right, with each other, so we can think about
In some ways,
something
yeah.
about the policy.
Yeah, I do think probably what you've mentioned for contracts should be added in here. And also the referring when it comes to, I don't know if you want to add that to, I forget what the $200 was that you mentioned in the bylaws, but if that should be added. It says the director may expend funds outside the normal budget in amounts not to exceed 200 in a given month. That's also a little tough, and I think I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think that's a little tough in terms of deciding what's in the budget, what's not. I guess if you're going off of just whether it was spent the previous fiscal year, or I don't know what the intention on that one was.
I think that part of the issue is, like with the requesting of the additional financial things, part of it is we're not really current with what's happening with the budget. I realize we get the form, but it's the analysis, the looking at it and saying, oh, here's an area that's an area we need to watch or whatever else. That maybe it's along those lines that, I realize it's a bottom line budget. I also am concerned about when you have an emergency. I mean, emergencies are emergencies, so
Yeah, they sure
there should be some way that, who do you call, go to the emergency busters,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that could depend on a number of things, depending on what it is.
right.
So, yeah, that's a challenge.
The purchasing policy was clear about what can be done in an emergency for spending too.
Yes. So I just had a question in the purchasing policy on page 3, verbal quotations. The amount, source, date, and subject of verbal quotations must be noted as proof for this level of competitive pricing. What exactly does that mean? Do we need to hear someone's voice on a voicemail? Or
No, that I would speak to 3 different vendors and it could be over the phone and get confirmation on a quote.
So this doesn't mean that we need to hear someone in a
No.
voicemail saying, these 100 notebooks are
No,
gonna cost.
I mean, it could be done in writing, I suppose, too. I mean, there is a written option, but
Yeah.
I always like to get stuff in writing just for confirmation. But the verbal quote is an option.
Okay, that's fine, that's all I needed.
I found a policy that another library uses that I think is just cleaner and simpler. and I wanted to suggest this instead of the one that we have because it was based off the town's policy, but the thing is that it's not to scale at the same level that the library is. Just pass this down there.
Is this for purchasing you're talking about?
For purchasing,
Okay.
yeah. It's too. Yeah. I just think it's a lot easier to understand and has similar provisions, and I think the other one is kind of clunky.
Are you talking about Donna's or the town?
Well, the town's just not appropriate because it's not to scale for the budget, and it's not, there's a lot of issues with it.
Mine is essentially the town's, so.
Okay. I know, but there were some differences.
We're percolating.
My hands are too cold.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mary. That's helpful.
I think this is much clearer.
We're finding it.
This is an extra.
Oh, extra.
So I guess with knowing this, I think we should definitely look over this and not make, in my opinion, I don't think the board should vote on the purchasing policy until we have a true understanding.
So do we wanna take some time then to look through this and come back to this at the next meeting?
That's
and just compare and talk about what we see as strengths, and comparisons? Sure, okay, alright, and there's a meeting room policy.
Hello.
Alright.
We have to talk about people.
I think we mentioned that
We
last.
just gotta do the meetings faster, that's all. So Donna can speak to this, but she did make some updates to the meeting room policy related to our new recording equipment.
Yes. This was, I believe, a request from the board when you were deciding to add the equipment, because you'd like to offer it to other town boards and you'd like to offer the space to other town boards and commissions that want to record. The thing is that because of staffing, they would have to meet within our operating hours. And we would require a application just like any other group that meets down here. So I know we put in the 15-minute, that meetings have to conclude 15 minutes before the library closes. That's already something that we're doing in practice, but it would be nice to have it actually right now. For number 17, it's just specifying that the town-sponsored boards and commissions may use the recording equipment, but it is the applicant's responsibility to operate it appropriately. And they also are responsible for delivering the recording to the cable department. And they have to report equipment failures. And then we also left it open for a group wanting to. So my example for this is like, I think the Historical Society has maybe done some like programming, like educational programming before. And there may be a point where they may ask to use the recording equipment while they do that. So that kind of leaves the door open for that with the director's approval. And we added that an application does not constitute an endorsement from the library, because we have no idea what their meeting content will be or what views they will present during their meeting. So that's just protection for the library. I will say that my kind of concern is that I personally don't want to see library staff being responsible for training anyone on how to use the equipment. But if they don't, I don't really know how else we would make it happen. I do, after Drew walked me through how to use it, I did type up some instructions. So we'd be happy to give them instructions if you're okay with that. But there's not always Aaron or me here at night in particular. And I think a lot of the meetings would be happening at night. So it would fall to whoever's at the reference desk, really.
But
to
then
train.
they have to leave the reference desk to come down,
train.
and which is challenging when we're already short-staffed at night. And speaking to Donna's mention earlier about other boards using it, as we've come to discover, for example, tonight, we're not done when we close. And I don't know a lot of boards that are done right on time, which is great because they have a lot to discuss, but it does leave a challenge for if they were to have the meeting here. And also, Drew also showed me how to use the equipment, and it's not just push a button and hit record. There's some little more to it. So
Maybe we need to include something that says then to use the equipment, you must come in advance and speak with you guys in person, or
Maybe they need to also speak with Drew or whatever,
right,
you know, the
they
other.
need to make special arrangements. That's true, they could request Drew to come in there and help them.
We could, but if Drew is okay with that, we could include that detail, yeah. Oh, I didn't mention too on the actual application that we made some changes to specify that the meeting has to conclude 15 minutes before the library closes. We also added a checkbox for whether they will be using the equipment if it's a town board or commission. I don't know why we highlighted library card because that was already a requirement.
I don't know what I'm doing.
But I believe we highlighted all the changes here.
Yeah.
Just had a couple questions. So on the first page on number 2, all applicants must be lead to library card holders in good standing. If it's a town board, like say the Arts Council needs to come in and use it and do a recording, not all of them might have library cards, but they should still be able to use the space. They shouldn't be forced.
Then someone on the board who has a library card would fill out this application.
The person who fills out the application needs to have a card.
But if it's a town space and we're letting the town use the space, we shouldn't limit whether or not they have a library.
But are there people on the Arts Council that don't live in town?
I'm just talking about all the town meetings that are currently being recorded.
I know, but all the town, there's nobody that I'm aware of, and certainly Ted, you can speak to this, but on those boards that don't live in town, correct?
Correct, I believe that they all.
So then the library card's a non-issue, I think.
But what if they don't have a library card, is what I'm saying. If they want to hold their meeting here, if it's a town group and they want to record their meeting, why would they need to have, say it was like the Recreation Commission. They needed a space to meet, have a meeting, they wanted it recorded. Why would they be forced to have a library card if it's a town building and town equipment?
May I add to that, Madam Chair? I think this was added as really a way to promote the library. Honestly, this is a library space, and we benefit from being able to say how many users we have, how many card holders we have, and it's still a free space to use because they're a Londonderry resident, so they can get a free library card. So that's where I'm coming from. That it's kind of like a trade-off in a sense, to be able to, for the library to still get a benefit from having people use the space. I don't know if I'm explaining that the best way.
Be forced to get a card if they're not going to use it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they are using.
They are using our space.
They're using the space. It's representing that the library is being
Think of it
used.
like then, they're getting use of this space when someone who had a library card would already have to use this space. We're gonna give preference to someone who doesn't. And very likely somebody
On the
in that
committee,
group
yeah.
has a library card. It would be, right, extremely unlikely that they wouldn't.
Right, but okay, I can see that point, but it's still, I don't think, if like I said, if it's a town board that's meeting on something,
Yes.
that they should not be forced to get a library card.
They're not being
Just to.
It doesn't say that. You are
No, but if
forced to get a library
they
card.
wanted to have a meeting in this space, this is forcing them.
Then they'll find a way.
It's ridiculous.
I don't see an issue either.
I don't see I don't know why anybody would object having a library card. It's a library card.
But like I
It's a
said, if they're not
library
gonna use it and they don't want it, why would you?
You wanna use the space, get a card.
I think that's
It's a
part of the library
town-owned
policy.
building.
Point of order, this is a business meeting. So I'm just saying.
But we have all these special laws about the library and why it's special, so guess what? We get to make a thing that says you have to have a library card to use our space.
That's just the way.
The second thing I had was on number 17. If someone takes the SD card to take to the cable station, I'm assuming they bring it back, or does Drew bring it back? Or do we have multiple?
That's something that they would have to discuss with Drew. Cause it's their meeting, we're not responsible for their meeting,
So
getting
they're
on
not
the,
taking our card, they have to get their own card type of thing?
So
Well-
the SD cards are provided by the cable department, so they're not even our equipment.
yeah,
So if we're needing them for our board meeting, we will have.
Oh, I
SD
just wanted
cards.
to make sure that we would have our own
Yeah.
and we wouldn't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
worry about tracking.
yeah.
Okay. And yeah, just the same thing on the application for use of the library card required for the town meetings specifically.
So I guess the question is, how the board wants to move forward with the policy regarding these changes. Or do we wanna table it?
We have it, we have one more, like, date.
That date's just highlighted to change it, to remind us to
So-
change it.
Again, I think
As
it's
a
good, I
change.
think it's good when we have a chance to look, think, discuss, and we can come back and vote
Okay,
next time.
so we can put it on the next
Agree
one.
with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, it will allow for public comment in the interim if somebody wants to say something about it.
Alright, do you want me to go on?
Please do.
Okay. So, under new business for an acceptance of unanticipated funds, the Friends of the Library did a couple of actually 3 donations, technically. $100 to a program, Gardening Strong, and $100 to Birdscaping program. Those both were written checks by the Friends that were paid directly to UNH. So they just sponsored those programs. Then they also gave us $329.01 for Library After Dark programs, or Library After Dark. Then they sponsored 5 book discussions. They gave us money for Oscar Care, so you get a break, Jan, for a month, I think. We'll be starting up a seed library, so they gave us some money to start that process. So that total was $521.01 from the Friends. And then also we got a donation of $300 from New Hampshire Humanities, and that went toward the program History and Mystery, the genealogy program that was last month? Next week, sorry. Next week.
Was there a number on the website, $300?
300 even, yeah. So we just need a vote to accept the unanticipated funds.
Jan?
And this is the data. It would be helpful if it was someplace in either the minutes or the director's report or someplace where it was listed what those, or on a separate sheet that was listed, here's the things that we're accepting, because that was, tracking that down was a pain in the neck.
So do we want to vote on this and then we can come back and discuss where you would like to have that information? I'm happy to put it.
Can I just add, it is in the minutes already. It has been. So it's either, I know we moved it at one point from the director's report to new business. But it every month, if we had unanticipated funds, it was in the minutes.
It just was very hard tracking down what the specifics were, because it really wasn't as clearly delineated.
Perfect. Pause for 1 second. Okay. Do you want to accept these funds? Do you want
Sure,
to read,
I'll make a motion to accept the
do
funds.
you want to read the big one, RSA? Okay. Do you want to accept RSA 202-A:4-C? How did I do, Nancy? Pretty good. And RSA 202-A:4-D.
Yes. So moved.
Second? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Jan, would it help you, are we allowed to put the numbers in when we make the agenda, so Jan could find them very easily? Would that be okay? Would anyone be against that?
My only thing with that is sometimes the donations come in between when the agenda goes out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to hold on to a check for another month.
It would just be, again, maybe if we're doing the donation tracker anyway, maybe it'll fall into the donation tracker and we don't have to worry about it at all, because it's already gonna be in.
I mean, I can create a spreadsheet of when I do this and then send that to you. And then you can just put it in.
It just, we need to make it so that it's easily to follow and that the public can find the same information, et cetera.
Okay.
Hampshire Fire?
Okay, Hampshire Fire.
Accepting or something.
Yeah, I think that's.
So I brought this up earlier. Hampshire Fire was here. They did So I looked at our sprinklers and there was a couple of kind of, I don't know what you would call it, but kind of deficiencies that that they wanted to, that they suggested that we address. They're not critical, but they do need to be addressed. One is to replace the cover plate located in the front entry, and then complete hydrostatic test on the fire department connection piping, maintaining a pressure of 150 psi for 2 hours. So the quote for that is $1,000. So I'm just looking for the trustees to approve moving forward with that fix. I guess you could say.
Oh, just a quick question. Does replacing that plate have anything to do with that leak that happens when it rains?
That leak should have been addressed. It shouldn't be happening.
Okay.
But I make no promises on leaks. I make no promises on leaks.
Nancy?
I would make a motion that we accept the Hampshire Fire Protection quote.
Second. Second by Liz. All in favor of accepting this quote?
Aye.
Thank you. I will call. The second one is from Johnson Controls. They were here doing a check on our fire extinguishers. We have 7 that need to be replaced. They are, they kind of expired, if you will. They are, obviously, he said if there was an emergency between when he came and now, they would work. But they should be replaced. The cost of that is a total of $480 to replace these 7 fire extinguishers.
$480 for 7.
For 7, it includes the 7 fire extinguishers plus a hazmat fee of $25, which is in the.
To dispose of them.
Yep.
Bill. I make a motion that we will get new fire extinguishers that, as required by.
Second. Thanks, Jen. Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
If I may, along those lines, I've noticed there were some directions about how to exit the building for emergencies, but I want to make sure that I'm starting to ask about that at the senior center about, well, okay, now we have a ramp, tells you which, there's a ramp closer, so we don't have to have people running through the fire to get to the only ramp that they could use. Just to make sure that any of our rooms have here's how you should get out of the building, and that you should get out of the building if the alarm goes off, so that people know how to safely evacuate the building. But no matter where they are, whether they're in this meeting room or whether they're in the study rooms.
Okay.
Or the general library.
I'll check on that.
Okay. Now,
So the next one is you, Helen.
yeah, well,
Or-
and I don't know if anyone took me up on my exciting proposal to come by and visit anything here at the library. I did not.
I was going to, and then it ended up that I couldn't that night. So.
I was excited by the ones I was able to see online, though, and pictures of the wood,
The spoon.
spoon.
Yeah. That was the one I was going to come and
Yeah,
share with
and I
you.
was impressed by how many people were sitting in this room.
That program, oh my God, what was the waiting list like?
I think we had at least 10 people waiting. So we're looking to offer it again in the summer. Because I know a lot of people didn't get in.
So I know it was quick, but I think, even just going on, I tend to read them all here, I'm like, oh, yeah, and then I forget, so I need to go back and look again at the calendar and remind myself to look for things. So I know, but I think it would be great. I think we had a really positive discussion last time about what it might feel like for the staff and for even just have an opportunity to talk to other patrons and people experiencing the programs. So I hope that we can.
Yeah, and someone had mentioned a sign up. So I did print out the calendars for February, March, and April. These are our internal calendars just for our own purposes, to kind of make sure that we're not overbooking ourselves and stuff like that. So that's why they look a little funky. But there's a sign up sheet. If you're going to sign up, I don't know who's responsible for the sign up sheet, who is responsible for reminding people if you're going to go that route, but I don't want to do it.
I would like
so I will. That's just something I created. You can do what you want with it.
Okay, just I'm just gonna send friendly reminders and just, or if anything I see of interest, or you can let me know what your interests are, and I can keep an eye out. But I think it's something that I'm committed to making happen, putting into action. Can we skip the code of ethics for a minute, just skip down to the binders for a minute?
Yep, so in your packet, I believe it's for maybe it's right after the code of ethics. There's a packet, a new trustees packet kind of list that I came up with, and we were actually starting to do this, I think, we started this before you guys started working on the bylaws because we knew it was something that we wouldn't wanted to do. It just kind of kept falling off to the counter. So I came up with a list of things that I would like to put in the binder. These binders everyone would be getting one of these binders, old and, I don't want to say that's not appropriate, past and new trustees. Current trustees, current and new.
No matter what their age.
Everybody would get a binder with these items included in it. And so we would, so this way everybody would have the same stuff in a sense you could say. And every time we get a new trustee, they would be getting a binder with these materials in it. So certainly you guys can take a look at it and see if there's anything that we're missing or that you would like to see in it. I feel like it's pretty thorough. And I know you guys talked about it in your bylaws, but if you want to say in the bylaws to refer to this list instead of listing all of these, that's certainly up to you. Or if you don't like this list and you want to see something different, that's up to you. But I feel like it's pretty current, and obviously some things might change as things get updated. For example, a database trifold with our databases, if we gain one or lose one, that would be updated accordingly. So just like all these documents. So, but you would get original one, and then I don't think the expectation would be on me to make sure that those documents, obviously you would see documents as we update them, but when it comes to...
So remove this page. This is your replacement document.
Yeah, you could do that.
This section, right?
So, but this is the list we came up with, which is a little more expansive than what you guys had in the bylaws. But it's certainly, if you want to take a look at it, we could discuss it at the next meeting, or it's going to take a lot to put it together, a lot of printing, a lot of paper, but I'm happy to do it. I'm looking for guidance on what you guys would like to have.
I just would also like to suggest that we, for folks that are, if there should be any new folks that get elected, that we, assign a buddy or something, because I know that the first few months of being on the board is like, drinking from a fire hose. So it would be nice if we had a buddy or something. I mean, I used my sister a lot during that first year,
A mentor,
because she was a trustee person in her town. So it was like, so what are the questions I really should ask about that?
I think that's a good idea.
That's a great idea. And remind me the date of the night we're gonna have candidates.
So February 19th at 6:30.
So it's
and that will be able
February
to be recorded, so other people can view it after the fact.
And it's right here in this room.
It's in this room. I have heard back from 4 of the candidates. I'm waiting to hear back from this lady Jan. She hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Jesus.
But I sent an email,
I'm coming.
so I don't know if that's
I'll
fine.
move it around.
All right, you RSVP'd. Also, there's a lady Liz. Does anybody know this lady Liz?
Didn't I respond?
She was a real cute coach.
She told me she was coming.
I'm the one who told her to put it on.
Okay, you guys are good.
Yeah, we'll be here
Okay, great.
with bells on.
I'm just busting you.
I would be happy to come and put the binders together if you need help.
Yeah, once I get the okay that you guys are good with this list, I'm happy to start it, to have it ready for April.
That would be perfect.
Do we want to think about it, come back?
Yeah, let's think about it in case there's any additions, because,
The library policies
Well, there's on here.
is on here.
It's under library.
We'll put it on the agenda for next time, and then I'm happy to come.
All current library
And we
policies
could
at
have
the
an
bottom.
assemble-a-thon, you
Yeah.
put it on, everybody walks through and gets the tape, and somebody punches them at the end, and you stick them in the binder.
So we'll review that for next month?
Yep.
Okay.
So actually, the new board won't get a binder the first month, right?
No, I'm hoping to have it ready for April.
No, I think
So that would be the new members.
in April.
Because we'll have one more meeting before.
Yeah, because we have March.
Yeah,
Oh.
they would start.
Don't forget
so
about
I think
March.
we think we have time.
Oh, after March, this April, right. Well, I forgot the calendar thing.
I knew you were forgetting March.
If it's not on the wall, I can't think of it.
Okay, that's all I had for that.
Would it be okay with the group to hold off on the ethics discussion for right now? Just because I know we have a non-public to get to as well.
We do.
Keep an eye on the clock.
We're tabling the bylaws, I would suggest just table that as well.
Okay, alright. I can read this quickly.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
So, before we do that, Liz, do you have the template that I gave you for
Yes,
the
I'm pulling
non-public?
it out right now.
So, oh, sorry.
I just have a quick question. Are you doing public comment before?
Oh,
Public, yeah.
Public?
Public comment. If, okay. Anybody has any follow-up thoughts for us?
Richard Polinsky, 89 Hall Road, couple things. Library cards. This was discussed before, Nancy, you brought it up that you were charged for a library card.
I was.
Correct. So what is the policy? Because I got a call from my daughter who lives in town, who came down with my grandkids about 2 weeks ago, and called me up and says, what's going on? I paid $12,000 in taxes in this town, they want to charge me for a library card.
See, there you go, it's not only.
if you live in town and you show that you have an address in
Yes.
town, you should not be charged for a
There's
library
12
card.
grand in taxes here.
What did they charge her for the library card?
$3?
Oh, it went down, I was charged 10.
$3 is for a replacement card.
Yep.
If you
Her
are.
last card was, she's gonna be 37 in June. Last card she had was when she was 6 years old.
I don't even know why she would even be in the database.
I'm not saying she was.
No, I'm
She
saying
specifically called me up
To
because
charge
I'm
her
involved in
$3,
that.
her name would have had it in the what they're saying.
Well,
So
whatever,
that's what they're saying.
but she hasn't,
That's why it
but
counts
she
as
even
replacement.
moved out of state for quite a few years.
Yeah, so if
She was
her
in
name,
Chicago.
We keep track of people.
if her name was in the database and they had to update her card and give her a new one, that would be the cost of a replacement card.
Her last card was when she was 6 years old. She's 37.
But
a little bit.
was her?
It was under her maiden name, not her married name.
So
And that doesn't matter.
You also said at one time you replaced the cards when you went to Gmail.
Yeah, everybody had to get a new library card.
She didn't get one.
She has to come in.
She had to come in and get it.
Right,
But then she was charged.
but she was charged. I'm just saying, it isn't the money, she could care less about that, it's the idea behind it.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if someone comes in and lives in Londonderry and they want to get a library card and they've not had one before, there's no charge for that library card.
I want a refund.
I don't know who charged you. You keep saying that. I don't know who.
Just telling you, because you knew the amount and what it was for.
No, you
So-
told me the amount.
Right, and you said, right, it's a replacement card.
Because that's in our policy. That's what it says.
From a card she had 30 years ago?
I'm talking about the replacement policy for a lost card.
She didn't lose
It doesn't
it.
matter who she
She
is.
didn't lose it.
Did she have the card with her?
I don't know, I wasn't here.
Then what do you think? I don't know what to tell you.
It's feeling a little nitpicky. Is there anything else?
All right, you're on
I'm so confused.
This is a real, then get a policy that's written and put it in.
I'll send you the policy.
That's fine,
I'll
send
send
it
you
to
the
me.
$3.
I will do.
It isn't the amount, it's the idea. Now you want to check, now you want people to have a library card to use the room. Now remember.
It's not now, it was always the policy.
Well, whatever, you don't own the building. It's a town-owned building owned by the people who pay the taxes here. If they're a Londonderry resident, they shouldn't be required to use a room that they pay for, have to have a library card. It's ridiculous. I agree with what Christine said. I don't have a library card. I've been here for over 40 years. I don't have one. I don't need one. I don't want one. You're gonna tell me I can't use my own room that I pay for? It's not right. If they live here, they should have the option, fill out your paperwork, that's fine. You have certain hours, that's fine. That's not a problem. It shouldn't be a requirement. It's a way to boost your numbers for people who don't want it. It's just not right.
Erica Lowy, 18 Lancaster Drive. I can't believe I have to say this. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Every other, excuse me, it is my turn, not yours.
Yeah, that's great.
Quiet. So I have lived in a whole bunch of places all over the country, all over the world actually, and in every single one of those places, in order to use a library card, or in order to use a public space like at the library, you had to be a card holder. It wasn't because we were charged, it wasn't because they were trying to boost numbers, it was simply because they wanted to keep track of who was using the facilities and how. And having a library card was a simple way of doing that. It just made sense. It didn't even cross my mind or occur to me that that might be some sort of violation of my tax rights as a taxpayer. I think that's absolutely obscene to suggest that. It makes complete sense to me that if somebody wants to come in and use the library space, that having somebody with a library card fill out the form is fine. That's not requiring everybody else on the committee or the group or whatever to have a library card. That is simply creating a step of accountability for the use of the room that is in the library. That makes perfect sense to me. Sorry, I'm really heated by this, but this is just mind-blowing to me. Thank you.
Beth Morocco, 4 Westwood Drive. I think today has been evidence that our librarians feel threatened. I think that there has been significant changes as late, and people have a reason to feel unstable about the future of our library. You have a deliberative coming up in a few days. I know personally I've put out a lot of effort into creating a template of never been to a deliberative before. This is what you can expect. Bring your ID. Bring food. If you've got kids, I'm so sorry for you. They're going to be miserable. It's a long day. It's really important. I hope that people at home and people in this room recognize we need bodies in the room. People who are 18 plus, have their ID, registered voters. I hope that every board member solicits people that live in town, that are patrons, that care about our library. Call your friends. Call your neighbors. Drag your cranky spouse. Sit in a chair. Participate. We need people in the room when decisions are made. And far too often, the next day on social media, you see this uproar. What happened? We need people to be in the board meetings, to be the adults, to participate. And I'm begging people at home and here, call people. Tell them, I owe you 3 coffees, but get your bottom in a chair at these meetings. They are critical. So please and thank you, and love you all.
Thank you. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Ready? All right, we need to enter non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:, Roman numeral 2, subparagraph A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or dismissal of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against, unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to remain, and 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Do we need roll call?
Yes, we do. I, Nancy Hendricks.
I, Helen Palmieri.
I'm Laura Ryan.
Hi, Jan McLaughlin.
Madam Chair, would you mind stating the time for the record?
It is officially 9:37 p.m.